Depression doesn't have a face. There's people who you can tell by just looking at them, but there's some people you can't even tell. So be very kind with your comments. Be empathetic. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Hey guys, welcome back to another venting session with Jessica. I got some very good feedback on my last video, so thank you so much for that. For everybody who commented, for everybody who wrote to me in private, thank you so much. That means so much to me. And here we are again. Today we're going to be talking about kindness, being kind to ourselves as we get older, right? I'm 32 years old, and so I know a lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but I am. And as we get older, obviously there's changes that happened with our body, with our skin. And I feel like it's very important for our generation to be kind to ourselves. I feel like we've grown in an era where we can change everything about ourselves. And I think it's important that we stay true to ourselves and that we start to embrace and accept every stage of life. I think it's very dangerous that it's like a good and a bad thing that we have so much control over the way we look, because we start to view ourselves in a very distorted way. And because of social media, so much mental health problems has arisen because of the way that we see ourselves online. And, the filters and all that stuff, which I'm not totally against. I'm really not. I use them all the time. But it's very important that we stay realistic to ourselves and not be so obsessed about looking super perfect all the time. And I know this is very hard. Trust me, I know. We are our worst critics, especially as women. Like, we critique ourselves to the core, most of us. Every little thing that comes up, we make it a huge deal. And everybody else might not even notice, but we notice every little change in our body, in our skin. And now that we're entering this 30s stage, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's noticing changes in skin, elasticity, and all that stuff, changes as you get older. Obviously, normal, right? It's very normal. But I have a feeling that I'm not the only one who is going through having a bit of a hard time accepting that those changes are happening. And I'm all for taking care of yourself, I'm definitely not that person who just says, forget it, you're just going to get old, deal with it. No, I'm all for maybe a little Botox, whatever it is. I mean, not whatever it is, because I think that things can be taken to the extreme. And that's where I feel like it can get dangerous. Like, I don't think that a little bit of Botox to try to prevent premature wrinkles is a bad thing. But I do think that when you're, how can I put this? I do think that some young women are being a little too harsh on themselves. There's some young women who really shouldn't even be doing Botox, but they are, because it is a preventative measure. But I feel like we shouldn't strive for perfection. We should strive for bettering ourselves, but always being careful not to take it to the extreme. Why? Because we're all going to get old. Like, let's freaking face it. We're all going to get old. And we're not always going to look estiradita. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not always going to look like that. So we need to adapt. Change is going to happen. And I do not want to be that old woman who looks stretched the hell out and weird as, because you know what I'm talking about. There's some women who just, they get older and they never accept the fact that they're older. And I feel like they look worse than the natural woman who just embraces that they've gotten a little older. So I think we need to be kinder to ourselves and give us some grace. It's not the end of the world. Yes, still take care of yourselves. I'm all for the creams, the eye creams to try, keep yourself hydrated. Like, hydration is key. Like, I'm there for it. And please don't come for me. I'm not like obsessing over the way I'm looking right now, but I do see changes, and I know that it could be harder for some women than others to see those changes, but it's normal, and we're all going to go through it, and we're here for each other. We shouldn't shame each other for it. We shouldn't feel bad about it. It's part of life. I also think that we need to stop comparing ourselves in the way that we look with people online, because I feel like we're all trying to look the same. Like, we all want to be Kim K. Like, Kim K, everybody out here is Kim K. Like, no, like, there is a reason why you are the way you are. There is a reason why your structure is the way it is. Like, we shouldn't all be striving to look exactly the same. Then that would be boring. Like, that is extremely boring to live in a world where everybody just looks the same. Now, can you strive to improve certain things with measure? Absolutely. I completely am for that, without getting overboard. Like, don't do it overboard, because I think everything in exaggeration looks bad. It's like this trend, like a couple years ago. Well, still the trend is on, having a big butt was like a huge trend. But like, what, 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't a thing. Like, having a huge badonkadonk was not a great thing. Like, women in Hollywood were not striving for that. And all those things, we also need to think that those things are trends. And that's to say, like, whether you have a big booty or you have a small one, that's who you are. Like, and those trends of, like, you need to have like big boobs and a big butt, like, it became trendy instead of it being like, okay, that woman is that way, that's normal, she's beautiful that way. It became a trend. And so, like, in the past couple of years, I've seen that these women that did like such big booties, like, now are trying to remove some because they don't want to have them that big. And it just becomes so complicated. I'd rather not. I think it's better for us to just work on our self-esteem and like really love ourselves the way we are, so that we don't overcomplicate our lives. I feel so bad for these women that now are coming out and talking about, and I feel empathy for these women. I'm not coming again from a judgmental place. I don't ever want you guys to think that I'm sitting here just judging women, because that's not the point of this conversation. It's just about being open about what's happening with us. These women that, back in the day were injecting themselves with something that they thought was hyaluronic acid, and it ended up being biopolímeros. I don't know. I've heard this word more in Spanish than in English. Biopolímeros. I don't know how exactly you say it in English. Biopolymers? Okay. And now a lot of them are facing huge health conditions, and their health is being affected by the stuff that was injected to their body, which was never supposed to be injected to their body. And I'm just thankful to the Lord that I wasn't even into this stuff back when it was becoming popular. Because, wow, that is just so unfortunate. And I feel so bad for every woman that's going through this, because I don't even blame them. I don't. Like, we live in a society where it's like constantly we're being pushed how we should look. What is the best way to look? We're being pushed on ads, on TV, on now Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, the perfect body, or, what's the perfect way, facial structure, and all these things. And we're very influenced by a lot of these things. Like, we all are. Like, we can't even deny it. We all are very influenced by all this. And it's just very sad that now they're having a lot of health problems. And I think a lot of women have even died from having these things in their body. And the scariest part about it is that they can't completely remove it, because this stuff that was being injected into their body spreads. It's just a very sad situation. And my heart goes out to every woman that's dealing with this problem. It's something that should have never happened. And those people that were injecting this stuff are irresponsible as hell. And there's just no words and nothing I can really say, because only they know what they're going through. And this is why it's important that we love ourselves, because we don't want to be in a position where we are so vulnerable and so unhappy with ourselves that we go to any extreme to change ourselves completely. It's dangerous. Don't do it. And if you are going to do something like that, please make sure you're going to somebody who's certified. I don't care how much money you're saving. Your life is at risk, and you're putting your life on the hands on this other individual. At least make sure you're doing with someone who's certified to be doing this kind of stuff. It's irresponsible at this point to even not do your research. There's way too many stories out there of things going wrong. Money should not be what's taking you to that place where you don't even know if you're safe or not. So this all ties into also us being kind, not just to ourselves, but other fellow women. When you're on the internet, if you like to be putting comments on other women's posts, negative comments, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Keep scrolling. Keep your negativity to yourself. You don't know what kind of stage that other woman is in. You don't know what mental state they're in. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know how they feel about themselves. And this goes especially for women who you think look good. Because just because you think a woman looks good on the outside, and somewhere in your heart you find jealousy because you think this woman looks better than you, and you find it in you to write a nasty comment on this person's Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is, any social media, don't do it, because you don't know what that person is going through. And it doesn't matter how beautiful you think they are or how confident you think that person is online. You never know what goes on behind closed doors and what goes on that person's mind. This is why over and over there's been cases where young women commit suicide, and you look at them and you say, oh my God, but why did she do that? She looked so happy. There's no way depression doesn't have a face. There's people who you can tell by just looking at them, but there's some people you can't even tell. So be very kind with your comments. Be empathetic. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, and keep it moving, because you don't want to be on the other side. And it could be any of us. It can be absolutely any of us. Don't judge a book by its cover. Always be kind. And that should make a difference. You want to make a difference in the world? That's how you can make a difference, by being kind and having empathy. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed my venting session. And if you guys have any topics you guys would like for me to talk about, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit that like button if you've gotten to the end of the video and you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit the bell so you can be notified every time we post a video. And that's it for today's venting session. Until next time.